When we kind of looked at the schedule, we played 5 straight games. 3 of the 5 on the road, so knew it would time out pretty well, trying to get bodies healthy and that sorts of stuff. That's really was the emphasis before we ended up playing the game, and then after how the game went, obviously it helps also that we had a little bit more time to do some self-evaluation and self-scout type stuff. But I think the biggest thing that was set up for us at the timing of this thing is getting healthy bodies back. I mean, that was huge. Even guys that you see playing, they're not all the way 100%, So just to get healthy and to feel good again, we needed that week to refresh a little bit.
Home crowd is going to rejuvenate this team too. Do you feel with it's been a month since the last home game, so do you feel like a home crowd will provide that lift for this team?
Always. That's the heartbeat of the team. They get us going. Once we walk down that ramp and it's time to go play, you feel that emotion, you feel that energy, you feel that juice. So definitely looking forward to that. It's always awesome to be playing at home in front of everybody and people that are supporting you. So looking forward to it and can't wait to see the Red Wave out there.
Washington State's had an interesting season so far. A lot of points scored by them. Some crazy ones. What kind of game are you anticipating with this Washington State Cougar team going in?
Yeah, they're playing good ball. They're very explosive. On offense, they get chunk plays. Like you can see their touchdown plays they make. They don't have a lot of plays in the red area. It's a lot of chunk plays that they make. They have good athletes. The quarterback drives them, So we're going to have our hands full. We're going to have to play Bulldog football and take care of business. On defense, they're a 4-2-5 structure. They're very active. They change their coverages and things. They try to create havoc. So we'll have our hands full, like I said, and we're just excited and ready to go play. So the first person that sticks out, and it was kind of freaky, but in pregame we lost Devo. He had some shortness of breath stuff going on, and he actually spent most of the first half in the hospital, local hospital out there in Vegas. So we lost him there. He's the main guy that sticks out in my mind. And then hopefully some guys that you saw playing can get a lot more healthy. Like Mosse's out there playing, but he's on one leg. Eddie's out there, he's playing, he's on one leg. Like things like that I think some of the guys that you've been seeing are now getting closer to 100%, so they'll play a little bit better and a little bit more fresh. So things like that. But those are people that stick out in my mind.
I know it's 2 weeks removed, but what was the first thing you told the team after the loss to you?
A lot. I guess the first thing that you can't get beat twice from one game. That's the first thing. So we knew what we were doing. We were out there and we didn't play Bulldog football. I mean, plain and simple. There's a tough aspect, there's a blue collar aspect, there's a fanatical effort type aspect, and we didn't do that for whatever reason. So we had to get back here, and then Sunday we had a team picture and kicked everybody out the building, and we didn't start watching that film until we got to Tuesday. So we needed to do some self-reflecting and look at ourselves in the mirror and all those things, and then we came back Tuesday and got back to work. So it was just a matter of let's get out this locker room. It's a bad taste that we deserve to taste right now, but let's make sure we never taste it again. And then we got back to work on Tuesday, and then it carried through practice, and now we're in the game week now.
I know this game doesn't count for the conference standings, but in the conference title race, how important is this game for your team?
Every week's important. Every week has its own identity. Every game has its own identity and history. We're all competitors, right? That's why you love this sport, and you want to try to win them all. But you know that you have to go 1 week at a time. And this is the most important because it's this week right now. So we're focused on this game. We have a good week of practice ahead of us, and then we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Good morning, Coach. Can you just talk to me about some things that you maybe some signs you'd like to see in practice this week from your team, kind of telling you that we've put that thing in the back of our mind and we are ready to go attack this Division 6 now?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think kind of saw it last week. The whole theme and message was getting back to ourselves, and that's playing with energy. That's practicing with energy. Attention to details. Don't let the little things turn into big things. All those little things you hear all the time. But as you go through a season and you're playing each single week, sometimes things tend to slip through the cracks a little bit, So just getting back to playing Bulldog football, playing with that fanatical effort, enjoying the game, smiling. We practiced last night. There was a lot of energy and juice. Our meetings had more energy and juice, so not getting still. All that is important. So we just got to get back to playing Bulldog football. I know that's a phrase you hear all the time, but it's so true. Our style of play needs to be a certain way. That's how you win here. So we got to get back to our style of play being the way we want it to be.
Morning, Coach. Obviously, you don't want to lose any
away from a loss like that to say, okay, this can be a defining moment to really reset everything?
I kind of go back to I remember Muhammad Ali got knocked out, and he was talking about how can't take winning for granted because you start winning so much, then all of a sudden somebody hits you and you get knocked out, and then you start to realize, oh, okay, I see why these attention to detail things are so important. I can't get a little ahead of myself thinking I'm just going to win all the time. I have to work about winning. You know, those types of things is how I see that. And if you are not ready in college football, as you saw this past weekend, if you are not ready to go when it's game time, you could get beat. And that's the same way our schedule is. We could beat everybody on our schedule, and we could also get beat. So we have to show up, we have to play Bulldog football, and we have to be ready to go.
Can you take anything from the LA Bowl against these guys a couple years ago, or is that just a different situation?
I think scheme-wise is very similar, especially their offense, our defense, you know. But the names and the players have completely kind of changed. So there's a lot of new people out there. But scheme-wise, you know, they do a lot of the similar stuff, and we do too. So you'll see a lot of that similar. But the people that were playing and making the plays is a lot different. So that's kind of my take on that.
How's it going, Coach?
Great.
From the UNLV game till now, in terms of practice and preparation, obviously with the inclusion of the bye week, has there been any type of different approaches to, the practices or anything else in terms of getting ready for Washington State, working on offense, defense, extra conditioning, extra anything like that?
I think last week we were focusing a lot on getting real healthy. Our practices weren't as long, cut the practices down a little bit. So we got on and off the field pretty quickly and still got quality work in. Our practices, we always want to work fast. We want to transition between drills real quickly. And we did that, and we kept that going. And then we practiced on a Sunday night, which is not usual, but we're just taking advantage of a little bit of extra time. So we didn't have pads on or anything, but it was something to just get a little extra, a little taste, a little bit more familiarity with Washington State, and then we're in a normal week now. So it'll be a normal Tuesday, and then we'll Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and play Saturday.
Now, Washington State is kind of like in a kind of weird scenario right now. They're like half in the Pac-12, half in the Mountain West with that kind of whole deal, though. But do you think with the victory against Washington State that it will show, to the college football world that Fresno State does deserve to compete in a conference such as the Pac-12?
Where we are right now, we're all about playing for ourselves right now. We have to prove to ourselves that when we work hard and we do what we need to do, Saturdays get taken care of. We are all completely just thinking about what we need to do. So we're going to make the Valley proud. We're going to play Bulldog football, and then we let the national scene be the national scene. We're just taking care of business for us right now.
For sure. And even though they have a 4-1 record right now, their distribution in terms of offense and defense is kind of, teetering one way. They have a top 10 offense, though, but their defense overall is ranked 8th to last in the FBS. Has there been any extra emphasis on trying to make this, hey, let's make this be a great offensive performance, a defensive performance in terms of exploiting the weaknesses of the Cougars?
I will say this: stats can fool you sometimes because I've watched their defense, and they're a 4-2-5 structure, and they're very disruptive up front. And then they mix their coverages up, and you can see them getting some quarterbacks stuck in some things. They've given up some big plays, and that Boise running back over there is pretty special, and he hit some on them. But that's a good defense over there. I don't the rankings and all that stuff. I don't know what it is. I didn't even look at it. I just watch those guys play, and they play very hard, and they're smart players, and they're changing up coverages and the scene that you see on the perimeter. So I think they're a very, very good team. I don't know what the stats say and all that stuff. We're going to have our hands full. This quarterback that they have is dynamic. He can run. He's their leading rusher. He's throwing it all over the yard. He can do some things with his legs that's very dynamic. So we're going to have our hands full, and we need to be ready to play.
Coach, what's the biggest lesson you took from that UNLV game?
Biggest lesson for me was just making sure that we are always ready to play and don't get stale. Don't get stale with preparation, There's always things, there's always little tweaks that you can do. Don't get comfortable kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? So just making sure we have energy and juice and make sure we're motivated to play every single time we step on that field.
And do you think this game could have a conference matchup type of feel with Fresno State moving to the Pac-12 soon?
I mean, it has all that out there, but we're in October, so now these games, they really start to matter. As you get to October and then you get to November, the games you remember. So it's time to go play now, How do you feel, whatever, it's time to go play. That's how I feel about it. Thanks.
Morning. Sure.
Coach, how do you prepare for a QB that's as mobile as John Mateer?
Well, he's special. I think right now he might be leading the country in rushing as a quarterback for the quarterback position. He's a quarterback, but he's really a running back when he takes off, and they design a lot of plays to highlight his ability. You have to not allow him to create the plays that he's capable of creating by being very careful how you rush him when he is throwing the football and not allowing him to escape. But also in the run game, you've got to be cognizant of the fact that on third down, a quarterback draw is as likely as a pass, and probably as effective as a pass most cases with this guy. So it's an emphasis, it's an awareness. Schematically, you have to do some things to try to take away some of the things that he does. But he is. We have not seen a quarterback. I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback have more explosive runs than this guy in a non-option type offense. He takes off. They run power. They run counter. They run draw with him, and once he tucks the ball, he's a real good runner. He could play running back and be really good. So he's a big time challenge.
How's it going, Coach?
Okay.
As I was asking Skipper, the Cougars have the number 10 ranked offense in the nation, and the right here says they also average 41.8 points a game. How do you limit that type of offensive production?
Well, I wish there was a magic formula or a wand to say that it's easy to do, but you can't give up the explosive plays that they're capable of generating. The receivers, they have a couple of their receivers are averaging over 18 yards a catch. That's exceptional. I think of their top receivers, the lowest yards per catch is 15 yards a catch. So these guys not only are catching the ball, they're catching them deep down the field, but they also are able to take a short pass and turn it into a big gain. They do a great job in the screen game. They do a great job of getting the ball out on the perimeter. So that's a major challenge. The running back is an explosive runner, and again the element of the quarterback run game and his ability to generate big plays. He doesn't have gains of 10 yards and 15. He's got 60 and 40 and 30, and it's incredible to watch. But you can't allow them to break the big play, and you got to keep making them line up again, and hopefully we'll be able to contain them and get off the field on third down.
For sure. And then Agina and Davis stepped in for the injured Braca. So with the Cougars, what are you looking for them to do in terms of stepping up big once you guys face Washington State on Saturday?
Well, it's not just them. It's everybody has got to step up at every position. I think it's a big-time challenge for us in the bye week. You're able to kind of evaluate not just the past game that you played, but the entire season up to this point. So you address areas that need to be improved. You show the players where things could have been done better, and things as coaches that we could have done better as we self-evaluate. And then you kind of regroup, put the plan in place for the next opponent, and move forward. So I think defensively we gotta really do a great job across the board. Our guys up front have got to be extremely disciplined. The linebacking core has got to be aware of this quarterback all day, and in the back end we can't allow anything to get over the top of us. So it's a group challenge, and it's going to be a big time challenge for the entire defense.
And the UNLV game was the first game that the defense didn't have its own takeaway. So what do you do to motivate the defense in order for them to get back into the turnover category?
Well, they're motivated every week for that. you know, sometimes you go through games and you get on a roll that way. Hopefully, we can get back on a roll, but we're going to be trying to take the ball away. Turnovers will certainly be a big factor in this game coming up, and hopefully, we'll be able to generate some. But you know, they don't come easy, and hopefully, we'll be able to disrupt, get some, you know, fumble hits, strips, interceptions, tip balls, all those kinds of things. We'll practice it all week, and hopefully on Saturday we'll be able to get those done.
Watching the film against UNLV, what were a couple of issues that you saw that you hope to correct this week against UNLV?
Well,
I guess Washington State.
yeah, well, first thing is, you know, we went into the game feeling that, you know, if we executed, we had the opportunity to win the game without a doubt. We did not execute well. I'll be the first to admit that. And it kind of was one of those games that, you know, it was really the first game that we really hit adversity early in the game, multiple ways. And as that occurred, we didn't respond real well. I think we pressed a little bit. I think we had guys trying to do too much at times. You hear that all the time, but that was the case. And we didn't do a good job against some of their perimeter runs. And we knew the quarterback was going to be a very good runner, as good as the guy that he had replaced. So none of that was a surprise. And what they did schematically wasn't a surprise either. But we didn't defend it well. So we've addressed it multiple times last week. We actually did some things again last night to make sure that some of the areas that we were deficient in that game won't happen again. And now we just got to go out and execute the plan. And that goes for everybody, players and coaches alike. We all got to do a better job.
How vocal was that when you guys were watching the film? Were there guys just like, you know, man, I made that mistake, or you got to do this?
You know, we like Coach Skip said, you know, we got him out of here on Sunday to try to just get him refreshed a little bit and stop dwelling on the negativity. You know, I was just thinking about it yesterday. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we're sitting in here eating donuts, feeling great about ourselves. And after that game, we were about as low as you can be and feeling like the sky is falling. But in football, in today's game, you know, we're sitting here at 3-2, and we wish we were 5-0. But that's not the case. Now what's important is how well we prepare moving forward. We did talk to the players about the fact that 2 years ago, in 2022, after 5 games, we were 1-4. And that team took it to heart and went on a 9-game winning streak, won the conference, and finished up 24th in the nation and in the final rankings and did some great things. So it's all out there for you. But it's not going to happen because it happened 2 years ago. Right now, it's one game. Washington State is the game. We got to play great this week in order to beat a very, very good team.
If I remember correctly, that 2022 turnaround had a lot to do with the defense
Yep.
stepping up. What does this defense have to do to have a similar stretch that 2 years ago's defense?
Well, just go out and execute. I thought, you know, prior to this last game, you know, we had some ebbs and flows like most teams do, but we were playing pretty solid. We've been playing good on third down. We've been doing some good things in short yardage, and really up until last week, we've been keeping the points relatively manageable, not as good as we want, but yet, you know, pretty effective. And then we go out and, you know, we have a real bad performance and give up a bunch of points. And now it's, you know, it's a matter of just kind of refocusing and executing. That's the bottom line.
Coach, part of that adversity you referred to after imagine with the Debo situation,
Mm-hmm.
did that impact things emotionally or schematically?
You know, it didn't change how we called the game, I'll say, but emotionally, I think it did affect the players a little bit, especially the D-line. You know, Devo doesn't talk a lot, but those guys do rally around him. They know he's kind of the bell cow of that group, and when he wasn't out there in pregame, everybody was a little concerned. I heard about it in the locker room, and then I actually saw Devo in the locker room. I asked him if he was okay at one point, and he said yes. So I thought he was okay and cleared to play. Next thing I know is being told that he's out and he's been taken to the hospital. So that had an effect. I think Braca not being in the lineup really affected us in some ways because Braca, as I mentioned last week, plays two spots. He plays safety and he plays nickel. And so we had to make some adjustments in both of those areas, and we'll be better moving forward now, but that was the first time we had to do that in the game. So, but you can't make excuses about it. You got to move on with the guys we got, and we got very capable guys to get the job done. So we're excited about this week and about the challenge we have ahead of us.
Seems like there's been a sentiment from some of the past coaches that have played for this Washington State team that they schemed the offense well and Mateer still made plays that they just couldn't account for.
Yeah.
How do you account for that?
Well, we'll find out come Saturday. Yeah, he's one of those guys that you can try to overload the box, you can try to spy him, you can do different things, but at the end of the day, you got to tackle him. You got to get him on the ground. And as simple as that sounds, it's not easy. He breaks tackles. He's very strong. Someone said today they were listening to one of the TV copies, and he squats nearly 600 pounds. Now, I don't know many quarterbacks that have ever played the game that squat 600 pounds. So he's very explosive in the lower body. And we got to do a good job of getting as many hats to the football as possible.
Coach, Skipper's talking about using the bye week as getting healthy. Do you see this bye week being really beneficial for you guys and getting in a better, healthy state for this defense as well, just in the general sense of it?
Yes, I do. I think in a bye week, you have a chance to kind of assess where you're at, evaluate both scheme and personnel, make some tweaks in both areas as you move forward that you really normally wouldn't be able to do if you had another game pending the following week, because you kind of get on that roll where, as Coach was just saying, Tuesday's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, boom, and you're back on that treadmill. But it gives you a little chance to reevaluate and kind of refresh a little bit, get a little healthier, and a little more time as coaches to prepare for the next opponent. So I feel good about where we're at. We spent time last week getting ahead on the game plan. We had a good practice yesterday, which we started on the game plan. We're meeting all day today, refining things, and I think we'll have a very good plan. And now we got to go out and do it.
You mentioned the coaching refresh and being at the 1/3 mark now, this kind of October month. Do you find yourself evaluating tendencies and play calls and kind of looking to change things up moving forward?
Yeah, as a play caller, what I try to do is look at ourselves later in the week, each week, to see what they're studying. So in other words, it might be in the red zone, it might be in short yardage, it might be third downs. So if we're showing a glaring tendency in one spot or the other, you try to throw them off the track, so to speak, with the next game by not doing what you've shown a high tendency to do. But with that being said, usually what you're doing at a high frequency has been successful. So there's a fine line between, hey, I'm going to change just for the sake of, throwing them off the track, and just saying, hey, we're good at this. They have to execute to beat it. So, but I think it's always good to try to see what teams are looking at on the tape, and try to keep that in mind as you're calling the game. Thank you.
I think it is kind of refreshing to come off of that and have a week to reflect on it. And Again, just the same things that Coach Skip and Coach Coyle have talked about, just being able to really evaluate it and step back and take egos out of it, take pride out of it, and just go, okay, hey, well, where did things go wrong on that Saturday? And then just be able to reset, and so, I would say a lot of not all positive, but quality reflection on that game and really kind of what's transpired over really for 5 games.
And then I asked Coach Boyle about this, but you as a play caller as well, do you take this like 1/3 mark to kind of think about the play calling tendencies that you have and evaluate at this point in the season going into this Washington State second third, I would say, of the schedule?
Yeah, and my answer is probably similar to Coach Coyle. We try to keep an ongoing, kind of beat on what's going well, what's not, really throughout the season. And I think that one of the things that we struggled on third downs, for the first couple games, and so we really addressed that. We didn't want to wait till the bye week to address that, so we kind of keep that kind of ongoing, and then. Something I would just say from a play calling standpoint, is, you really start evaluating what you're doing well, what you're not, so I think that that's something that is hopefully an ongoing process, and we take some pride in doing that, and just, I would say adjustments need to be made in certain areas, based on what we're doing well and what we're not doing well.
And Skip mentioned this 4-2-5 that Washington State throws out, and he mentioned a couple times. So he seems keen on this defense being a especially in the pre-snap being an issue for the offense. What have you been kind of noticing with this Washington State team and what they present in the pre-snap?
Well, honestly, there's a lot of similarities to our defense, just as far as some of the stuff is trying to create certain looks, trying to dictate protections, trying to get you to think one thing's coming and then bring something else. So, in a way, what our defense does in spring ball and fall camp has really kind of prepared us for a team like this, because they are what I would just say is just very schematically sound, and they provide potential issues that if you don't account for them, they can create real problems, and so that's probably the main point of emphasis for us, is just making sure that we really account from a schematic standpoint, because that's something that they bring some really serious schematic challenges, in addition to having some good players at some spots that you had to account for as well.
Coach, is there a certain line where it's just one bad game, or there's certain things that could show up again down the line? How is that being approached?
Yeah, I mean, for -1 game, we haven't ran the ball very well. I think that that's something that I can't shy away from that statement. We've struggled to run the football, and one game of doing of having some productivity doesn't mean that, like, oh, we've got the run game figured out. So that's the honest side of me, and that's where I say, again, we got to put as coaches, we got to sometimes put our pride and ego aside and say, hey, what are we doing? Because what we're doing is not effective enough currently. So there's but I think you look at across college football, teams that are lighting people up have a game where it goes south, and so I don't, in no way do I feel like, from last Saturday that we're not good on offense or anything like that, but we can't just say, hey, we're just going to throw the ball every down, because that's not the formula to win games, and so we've got to figure out, we got to coach better on how to run the football.
Is there a particular difference in this matchup where you can see the run game taking another step?
I mean, I think Washington State's got some really good players. I think their defensive line, their front is very good. They're disruptive. So, I wouldn't necessarily look at it and go like, oh man, like this is the week to get the run game going, but we need to find ways to manufacture running the ball, and we're committed to doing that, and that's not going to change, and I would just say that just kind of moving forward, we've got to make some, alterations of things. It's not like you can, throw the baby out with the bathwater. We've got some stuff that we're committed to running the ball that we need to coach better and we need to execute better. I need to call it better. I think there's just a variety of things, there as far as running the ball better.
Jaden Dane seems like he's been
Yeah, he's kind of, again, just kind of day to day, week to week. Hopefully we can get him back. Because I think that he provides some quality depth for us at the position. And it's been cool to see Raylan step up in his absence. But it's something where hopefully we can get him back sooner than later. Morning.
What type of lessons could you learn from facing Vegas' secondary? Because a lot of those interceptions are just good plays by them, and some of them were also mistakes on your guys' part.
Yeah, when you look at those, when you look at the of the 4 interceptions, one of them, was probably I put a little bit more on myself, just as far as Josh's in the second play. But at the same time, we didn't win and lose the game. We didn't lose the game last Saturday because of one play. And in theory, it's almost like a punt. We put them back there on the -2 yard line or whatever, and then we got good field position because our defense held them. So that one is what it is. I could have put him in a better position maybe, than doing that on the second play of the game. There's one in particular with Mikey that, he and I have already talked about it. It's just like that's, one where it's like we had it open. It was open, one of our favorite plays, one of my favorites, one of his favorites. We were just late to it. Another one, the guy made like a highlight interception. I mean, that it was an incredible play by number 1 there on their sideline, late. And then the last one with Jaden Mandel he was on the right side. He just got to read it a little bit better because he would throw to somewhere else. He's on the correct side. So at the end of the day, I really look at it like there was one that I'm like, man, like we really want that one back because I was at a critical time. We were down 14-0. But, we got to make sure that we take care of the ball better. But at the end of the day, it comes back to we just got to put them in good positions. And I don't really feel, because there was guys open on all 4 of them. It's not like there was something where, one time Mikey had to scramble on the highlight play. But there was stuff that was open. So really the main thing is we just got to make sure whether it's protecting the quarterback better, whether it's, a situational thing, whatever, we just got to coach it better at the end of the day.
Even if you talk to Mikey about that interception, just overall, the interceptions he's had this season, how do you look at limiting those moving forward?
Yeah, I think that, when you look at it, the ones that I would really attribute to decision making or being on time on his part, it's probably half and half. I think that you can attribute multiple of the interceptions this season to execution at other spots, or maybe I got to give him a better call given the circumstances. I think that, probably it's probably 50-50 on that. And so, I think that as far as for him, sometimes maybe not pressing to make a play sometimes, but ultimately just comes back to, we just got to make sure we put him in good position. And, I think that when you're struggling to run the ball the way we have, I think that puts a little more pressure on the quarterback, ultimately. I think that's what it comes back to is, we got to find ways to run the ball because that takes pressure off the quarterback having to throw it as consistently, especially when teams aren't really threatened in that phase of the game. And so, I think that's one of the main takeaways from the UNLV game. Those guys got to play coverage because we couldn't run the ball effectively.
Good morning, Coach. You've been talking about this whole time, trying to effectively run the ball better, kind of moving forward. What does that kind of look like going forward? Is it a mentality thing? Is it kind of more pre-snap motion? Is it trying to get your guys to the outside? Like, what does that truly mean?
Yeah, I think that it's a multifaceted thing because I think ultimately it comes back to as coaches, we need to put those guys in better position to be confident up front. When you look at the game the other day, we handed the ball off 11 times in the first half and would have loved to have done it more, but we had 4 negative plays. I mean, of 11 runs, 4 times we're getting hit in the backfield. It's not super inspiring to call more runs, and so I think one of the big things is we've got to really look at, as far as just kind of empowering the O-line to be more confident and coming off the ball with a little more aggression. They know their stuff. And, I sat in their meetings, Coach Skip sat in their meetings, like they know their stuff. And, we just got to make sure we're putting our guys in great position to be successful up front.
You talked about
Raylan's just he's just a ball player. Like he's just, I think the encouraging part with him has been you've really seen him start to play faster. The first couple games, I think it was, he was, I don't want to say easing his way into it, but, you're really starting to see him, kind of his comfort level. I think probably a little bit of his just playbook and understanding game plans and all that, but he's playing faster. And he's just a really good player. I mean, that's something I think when you look at the transfer portal and the success we've had at the receiver position in the transfer portal, regardless of where they come from, they've all had some level of production where they've been at. And I'm not interested in bringing in a guy that couldn't get on the field somewhere else. I want a guy that either wants to have more opportunity or wants to prove themselves. And Raylan kind of falls into that. He's got a chip on his shoulder that wants to prove himself. And I think that's the best part about him is he's not very big, but he plays with a big chip on his shoulder. And, he's just a good football player.
Hello, Coach. To build up what you was asking, Billy Sharp kind of has been a good bright spot on the offense. I mean, the leading target with 25 receptions, and even though with the loss against LB, he had got 100 yards receiving. Are you going to be utilizing his multi-skill set at throwing, catching, possibly running against the Cougars?
Well, I don't want to share too much, but yeah, I think that's there's always going to be stuff to be able to use his skill set in every plan. I mean, really, everyone is in week to week it's different, but just we're constantly kind of building out the the stuff to be able to use him, whether it's using his arm or using his ability to run with the ball in his hands. And then again, just at the same time, the receiver position, he just become more and more comfortable. So yeah, I think he's always going to be a part of things like that.
And after watching the tape against the Rebels, was there anything that you saw evaluating that tape and thinking, oh, maybe I should have, gone deep, in the beginning, or could have used more trickeration and stuff like that? Will you be employing from what you saw from the tape? Will you be utilizing that come Saturday against the Cougars?
Yeah, when you look at the game as far as I think that we've kind of shown we're willing to take shots early in drives, and we're willing to push the ball downfield and stuff. But you look at we ran a reverse and gets tackled for a loss of 4, but we lost at one spot. Receiver lost on the perimeter blocking, and then it ends up knocking off the next guy, knocked off the next guy. There was actually nobody left if the one guy gets his block. So, there's certain things that it's like, man, like we, trying to make sure we're using just different gadgets, different things to generate explosives. And unfortunately, didn't win certain one-on-one situations, but we'll always continue to try and build on that stuff.
For sure. And right now, the Cougars are, I think, ranked like the 8th to last overall defense in the FBS. Is there anything statistically on paper that you're thinking that you want to exploit when come game day?
Well, I think that's a really good example of stats being a little bit misleading, just because, they're ranked where they are, but, San Jose and them, they got in a shootout, and it was just, it was a crazy offensive game. Ashton Genty last week, they had Ashton Genty bottled up in the backfield multiple times, and he made incredible runs. So, you look at, I think he had, 280-something yards or whatever against him rushing. But, he's getting hit in the backfield on multiple, 30, 40, 50-yard runs. He's getting hit in the backfield before he even gets into those situations. So, they pose some problems. So I don't think there's necessarily anything to truly, exploit, as far as just saying, like, hey, they struggle at this. They had the guy tackled in the backfield. So that's where it's just the stats are a little bit misleading with them, because I think that they're pretty good at really all 3 levels, especially that front 4 is a very good active front.